Thank you. All right. And 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, I'm Cyrus Aragnos. Today I'm going to be going back to one of my all-time videos that when I first started posting stuff on YouTube was of the Call of Duty 4 mod tools tutorials on how to create maps with Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. So today I saw the other day the CryEngine was on Steam. It got released to Steam for like $9.90 for a full month subscription. So I went ahead and got it, and it was a pretty fast download. And if you'd like to do something, stuff with maps, I would recommend getting it. It's pretty fun. So why don't we just jump on it? I'm going to show the very basics of how to move around and stuff like that within Sandbox, and well, I'm not going to show you that yet. So basically, just go to new level, and you can call it whatever you'd like. So I'm going to call this YouTube, so because this is the YouTube video, and I'm going to set this to be a very small map. You can set the freaking thing to be massive if you wanted to. I mean, like, just massive. The highest you can go is 4,096 by 4,096 kilometers. It's freaking huge. That is just massive. So let's start off with 128 by 128 for your height map resolution, and we're just going to set it to, you can set it to 32 meters per unit, and that would be a grand total of 4,096 by 4,096. But we're just going to do one. So just hit OK and let her run. It's going to ask you, let's see if it'll, got to give it a second. There it goes. It's going to ask for the texture dimensions, and just leave it at the default 496 by 496 high quality, and just click OK. So very simple. That's all that we've got in right now is just water. Move back, and you've got yourself your playing field. It immediately comes in pre-rendered in for you, except for it, like in Modern Warfare, what you had to do was you had to actually create the solids and tell it that you're going to make that the terrain, and then put the textures on top of it. Well, this is just 100% terrain. So there's some pretty interesting things that you can do with terrain in the CryEngine. And one thing that you can do is just come up here to terrain and go to edit terrain. Let me pull this over into the active desktop region so you guys can see it. So our map is literally, there's not much to our map, it's just black. Now, there is something that we can do here. We can just go to Tools and tell it to Generate Terrain. Now, before you do that, you got to come over to here to Modify. Now, you see the Generate Terrain will create a terrain map for you completely at random, which is nice. So, but before you do that, I'll show you what happens when you tell it to generate terrain all on its own. So we do it, and it's going to come up with these preset settings. Just leave them alone, and if you want to, go ahead and you can change whatever you want to on there. Click OK, and let me move that off the screen. What happened? Whoa, what's going on here? What is this? Basically, what it did is it took the maximum height for the entire level and made the map, and basically said, have at it, have fun. So we need to do this again, but this time, so what we're going to do is we're going to go here and tell it to clear the height map. And then we're going to come back to Modify, and we're going to come to Set Terrain Max Height. Very important. See, it's set to the max of 1024. Very, very tall. Now, I think that maybe even like 300 is tall, because like the actual height from ocean water to where the actual terrain is, I think is like 32, where it actually, I think it's like 25 actually. I think 25 is where the terrain starts to come out of the water. So 300 is freaking huge, but we're gonna do it. So we're gonna set that to 300, and we're gonna tell it to generate terrain. Click OK, and let it do its thing. And as you can see, 300 is still freaking massive. So it literally is just trying to figure out what you are looking for. So I'm going to bring it down to 100. I think that's what I had it set to last time. That is not what I wanted. Generate terrain, click OK, exit out. That is getting a little better. it's still really crazy. So I think we're going to bring it down just a little bit more. And so we're going to go back to our max height. I'm going to bring it down to 50. Actually, yeah, 60. We're going to do 60 as the max height. I mean, we can always change the max height. That's the best part about it. We can always change the max height. Click OK. Now, in order for this picture to re-render, you have to exit out. So that's looking a lot better. Much, much better here on our playing field here. And like I said, come back into terrain, and now you got your nice little mini map here. And from this, you can modify a lot of things, but I don't really like to do a lot of things from here. I like to do it from within this area here. It makes it a lot easier because you can see everything that you're working on. So the best part about CryEngine is the fact that, you see, with Modern Warfare, with the mod tools, is you had to compile everything. You had to compile all this stuff first before you can jump into the game. Well, with CryEngine, it's as simple as Control-G, and you're in the game. I mean, yeah, sure, there is nothing to it. I mean, it even pops up these little errors saying no surface type assigned to this surface, to this texture, I think is what it says. So, I mean, it's like, even though there's nothing here, you can still run around and test things, which I think is just incredibly awesome. I think it really is. I mean, look at this. I'm jumping up to the top of the... Whoa, no! I mean, I just jumped over that little hill, you know, that little foothill, you know. I mean, there's the possibilities for CryEngine are just endless. So, hit escape, and you're right back to your editing tool. Now, I'm not really going to go into much of the actual controls of how to move around. You right-click, hold it down, you can move the camera like this. Stationary, you can just kind of look around. Hold down, you can go left, right, forward, back with WASD. If you hold down Shift, WASD, it'll go a little faster for you than just the standard. I have it set to where very fine movement, so I move really slow, because on my other map that I'll show you here in a minute that I've been working on, there's a lot of detail that I've been putting in there. But the next thing I'm going to show you is that I've learned about this engine is textures and actual textural layers. They are very confusing, and there's not much documentation on it whatsoever. And the documentation that's on YouTube is actually it's good, but it's not great. So I'm going to try. I'm not saying that my footage is better. I'm saying that I am going to be adding on to their footage. So what I just did is I went to terrain and went to terrain texture layers. Let me pull this guy into the field of view here. And so what we have is our default material, which is this guy here. That is going to be your default. I leave that alone, and that way we can still have it, and I just tell it to add a new layer. Now, the default, you can keep it at this as the default news.dds. I've heard that if you set it to, if you click change layer texture, I've heard that gray.dds is a good one to go with. So just click on that and make it gray. The other one's gray, so might as well keep it gray. Now, in order to change the actual texture itself, this is where it gets a little confusing, because one guy showed it where he clicks on this button on this guy here. It opens up the next window, but then he's able to switch back to this window here and do what he needs to do. I don't know if he was working on an older version, but you cannot do it his way. But anyway, you click here and it brings you to your materials. Now you can click all sorts of stuff. So textures, decals, puddles, sand, soil, objects, materials. I mean, there is so much that you can do. But we're going to stick with terrain, and we're going to choose a rock terrain. Now it's going to show you this really, really bad, like this really crappy type of like render version here. If from what I understand, if you close it out and then come back in, it'll give you a better quality. But basically, all you need to do is click on it and highlight it. Highlight it, and you're done. Click X. You're going to have to come back over to terrain texture layers, and if you want to, you can go into the preferences. Where is it? Preferences, and your customized keyboard, and you can set up shortcut keys for all these. I haven't done that part yet. But you come back here, and before we clicked on the rock texture, this button right here was grayed out. You couldn't do anything with it. But since you left it highlighted, now you can do it. You hit Assign Material. Now it changed this name, Terrain Rock 4. Close it out, and let's see if it loads it in. It didn't load it in, but that's okay. It's loaded in right here. It looks pretty freaking awesome. So now what do? You're like, all right, well, sweet. Thanks, man, for showing me that. So what you're going to need to do is, I'm clicked on the wrong thing. I apologize. Come up here to Terrain, and you're going to go down to Layer Painter. And you have to make sure, you see right now it's not doing anything. You have to make sure that not only is the pointer selected, but you have to make sure the X-axis is turned on. If you have any other axis turned on, it's not going to work. So Layer Painter, and now you've got these options here. So brush settings, you've got the radius. So there's our brush, and let me just zoom in right here for you. Here's our brush, and it's pretty big. It's a nice, decent one. And our new layer is right there. We could have renamed it and called it like rock texture or whatever the heck you want to call it. You can also set the brightness of whatever you want to put down. So just kind of put it down. Now, as you can see, it's not bad looking. It's not bad looking at all. Even like up here, I mean, look at that. That's looking pretty freaking awesome. So that's just your basic way of adding a texture in. Now what you can also do is you can lower the brightness on there and make it like super dark. I mean, like, look at that. That is freaking awesome dark rock texture right there. Hit reset, and you can make it bright white if you want to. You can even change the color. If you want a blue rock, you can do a blue rock. It didn't do it for me. Give me a blue. There we go, blue. Look at that. If you want a blue rock, there you go. You got yourself a freaking blue rock, man. So, I mean, it's really up to you on what you want. Default is white, so might as well stick with it, and then make it just a little tad darker because, you know, we're working with rock here. And then, like I said, man, like I said, guys, you can go all out with this thing. I mean, there is so much you can do with this engine, and and still all I have to do is just come up here, Control G, and I'm in. And look at that. Now you see over here, it's gonna still give me that little error, but because of the fact that we painted a texture here, look at that. Immediately renders the rock in like it's supposed to be there, like we're shooting a rock face. So just an incredible engine, really, really nice, really, really easy to work with once you understand how to utilize it. Now, I would recommend that once you find a rock color that you like and settings that you like, hit Save Layer. You'll be kicking yourself later if you didn't do that. Let's go back to the default and paint that guy in. I'm going to go back to the default. It's not even really right. It's like weird. That's close enough. So let's go back, and I'm going to change this back real quick because I'm going to show you, this is the last thing I'm going to show you and then I'm going to show you the map I'm working on. So this is the last thing, so we're going to go to New Layer. Now, one thing that's nice about this is you can say, let's say I'm going to just zoom all the way out here so I can see the whole map. I'm going to turn the radius up on this thing so it's like freaking massive. We're going to, let's make it to where it just covers the whole area. There we go. So maybe even just 150. That should be enough. Yeah, plenty of room to work with. So New Layer is on our rock layer, and we're going to basically paint the entire freaking landscape as rock. Now, what you can do is you can set it to be a specific altitude, which is awesome. Now, I believe we set our altitude to be... crap, I forget. Will it tell me? 60. So our max altitude is 60. Now, gotta make sure that we go back to the layer painter. Altitude. Let's say we want rock to start showing up at an altitude of 40 and to stop at an altitude of 65. Hit enter. Now, let's say I only want rock to show up during a certain slope degree of a rock face. So from right now, it's set to 0 to 90, so that includes every angle possible. But maybe let's change it to 45 degrees to 90. Now let's see what happens. Look what changed. Very little changed. So let's change this to 30 altitude, 30 to 65, and let's change this to 20 to 90 degrees. Now look at that. And this would be an awesome way to do this, is if you wanted to set snow on your mountains, the altitude feature would be perfect. Same with slope. I mean, what you would do is you would get your rock on there, and let's just finish this off. Let's get it back to like 15. All right, fine, we'll do 5. All right, there we go. That's looking good. The tops of our mountains are nice and rocky. Now, if we wanted to, we could set like a snow, and for a specific altitude, we could set snow on top of those rocks. And just awesome. So, I mean, we got the rocks there. And you know what? Let's keep going. It's got a couple more minutes here, so let's go back to here and create another layer and change this back to DDS gray. And let's find ourselves our terrain wherever the heck it went. There it is, and my mouse is right over it. Let's grab grass 1. Close this. Terrain, texture layers, assign. So now we have rock. We're going to rename that rock. Grass. Rock and grass. Okay. Now, you're going to come back to the layer painter, and now you've got rock and grass. So altitude for grass, seeing as rock starts at an altitude of 30, we're going to end grass at an altitude of 30, and we're going to keep it at. Let's start it. I don't know exactly what the number is for where the water ends, so we're going to find that out later. But let's say the slope, because the slope for, let's say, save our layer, rock starts at a slope of 5 and goes to 90. Let's go, I think we got to make sure that we make sure that our slope is correct. Let's try 5 and see what it does. Now, of course, we told it to be white, the color for white, so it's not really going to do anything. But what we need to do is we need to come in here to color and find ourselves a good green. That's probably a good green. Now, because of the fact that I set the slope to 5, we're not seeing much. So let's change it to 10. Oh, saw something there. Saw a little something. Let's change it up to 20. So we're starting to get a little green in there. Set it up to 4. Let's do 45. 45 degree. Look at that green starting to really come in. Let's set it up to 60. Look at the green. So we're going from 0 to 60. This is going from 5 to 90. So, I mean, we're really seeing some decent stuff here. Now, if you want to see what's nice about this is, like you can get these green areas in here and they're looking pretty good, but at the same time, look at that. This looks like it'd be more of like a rock, a steep rock look like. So what you can do is you come up here to your layer painter, go back to rock, and set your radius down to like right there. And then, seeing as our altitude, our slope is at 5 to 90, we're going to set it to 0 to 90. And it should be painting it. Oh, duh, because the freaking altitude. We have to change our altitude. Now, we're not going to save it. Look at that rock. We just added in the rock real quick to finish it off. We're going to go back to grass. And, of course, we forgot to save our green crap. I think it was like that green. Yeah, that's good. And then we're going to save our layer here. I don't know what it's doing here. I think that's because it's at a... There we go. Okay. So that is that. So, I mean, we got ourselves a rock texture in here. So let's see. It did save it. Yeah, it did save it, but that's okay. So, I mean, look at that. Look at how easy this is now that you know how to work it. I mean, it really is much... It really is easy to work with. You just have to give it some time. And you can really do a lot of good stuff with this. So I'm just going to fill this in real quick because this is kind of cool looking. I'm going to leave that as grass. You know, boop. And like that. And then our grass. Actually, this is more of like a rock. So I'm going to do something like that. And just, and the grass shouldn't be really right there, so I'm going to just delete it from right there and just make it all rock. But, I mean, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but just look at how easy this was to make these mountain faces. I mean, just super quick. We've spent 20 minutes creating the terrain and adding some textures in here, and just look what we've been able to do. Very, very simple stuff. I mean, this is just incredible stuff here. Very easy, and like I said, once you get the hang of it, you can, the sky's the limit, really. There's so much you can do with this, and not just with painting layers and rock faces and stuff like that. I mean, there is a lot more than just that. So, I mean, I would encourage you to check this out. I mean, just even to have fun. I mean, look at what we were able to do. And like I said, we could add snow caps to this. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you liked this blast from the past of going back towards map making. Oh, before I forget, I'm going to save this, and I'm going to open. No, I saved it again. I'm going to open. I've got all these different like test maps. I was like, what am I doing here? This is something I was just working on real quick. And yes, it's going to bring up an error report because I have a light in a spot that shouldn't exist. So this is basically the same rock texture, same grass texture. I picked the wrong color green. I also have some sand here for like the beach. But, you know, what's nice about this is that, look at that. I mean, it immediately does the render for you. It's putting my footsteps into the freaking sand. So I also added some lights inside this little house here, put in some props, and yes, they do some limited amount of stuff, but you know, they do some stuff, you know, which is pretty cool, nice. And shoot the toilet. Of course, the toilet doesn't. Of course, the toilet doesn't go away. So, but you know, and I was working on this lighthouse earlier, and I lost my save, and I put like a little lamp there, a lamp here, and a lamp here, so that during the night it like lit up this whole area. It was really cool. The dynamic lighting looked great. But anyway, I got to end this episode off. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed this blast from the past, and that you have yourselves a great day. I will see you guys in the next episode. This is Cyrus Ragnos, and I'll catch you later.